Brand new numbers on the economy just in. Initial jobless claims slightly higher than expected. 860,000 Americans filing for unemployment benefits last week. Peter Navarro, an assistant to the president and director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy, joins us now. Peter, so what does that new number mean for our economic recovery? Are we climbing our way out of this?
There's no question we're climbing our way out of it. And the way I like to look at it, we'll let folks like Larry Kudlow talk about the big macro. What I do for the president is work on the micro stuff. And today, he's going to Wisconsin, tomorrow, Minnesota. And at the micro level, I'm going to explain to you why we're going to do so well in both of those states. If you look, for example, at Wisconsin, you start in Oshkosh. The president did a huge defense budget increase. We got great, one of the state-of-the-art combat vehicle plants there. If you go up to Marinette near the Green Bay area, the shipyard there is booming when it was all but dead under the Obama-Biden administration. You go over to Wausau, that's really interesting. It's close to the Duluth area. And what's happening over in Minnesota is there's this natural resource renaissance that's come about in logging, but particularly because of the steel and aluminum tariffs. The whole iron range up there is booming. They make these things called the taconite pellets that then come down and get on the docks of boats in Duluth, and then off they go on the Great Lakes to the steel mills around the Midwest. So if you look at all this economic activity, that's the result of the focus on manufacturing, focus on the workers. I think that's what's going to really lift things up. And by the way, there's Big Ten football as well. Yeah. People are happy in Gopher Land and Badger Land today.
But the fact is he is hitting the campaign trail, and he is going to Wisconsin. Obviously, he sees some work to be done there. Obviously, a narrow margin that he did unexpectedly win that state in 2016. He's heading to Mosinee in Marathon County today. It's a county he handily carried back in 2016. Why there, Peter?
Well, look, this is the most active president in terms of traveling. Why there? It'll be there today. It'll be somewhere else in the state in another week. This president, it's really interesting to watch his travel schedule compared to the Joe Biden not express. This president is the hardest working president you've ever seen. I mean, think about the travel schedule. Wisconsin today, Minnesota tomorrow, North Carolina, and then next Monday it's going to be Ohio and on. So we're hitting it hard. I think everybody understands that the swing states are going to be really what determine this election, but they play right into Donald J. Trump's strength because it's all about being a blue-collar president and being the Republican Party being the party of the working class.
Well, the residents of that state, as well as throughout the country, wondering what happens as far as a relief bill and stimulus checks. Yeah. You have the president now talking about an even larger stimulus package. His priority has been the $1,200 stimulus checks. Here is a tweet from the president on Dems and bailout money. He says Democrats only want bailout money for blue states that are doing badly. They don't care about the people, never did. Mark Meadows was on this network this morning detailing what he says the president wants. Listen.
What number did he tell you he wants?
Well, he was certainly willing to embrace the $1.5 trillion number that was put out in the last day or so. It really depends on what the priorities are.
So add to that, Peter. What does the president want?
So trust in Meadows here. It's a negotiation. We do that behind closed doors, unlike the Democrats who like to do it in the rotunda. The one thing I can tell you, Sandra, and this is not news, but it should be repeated, Nancy Pelosi's the problem here. There's a lot of people in her party who want a deal because they understand the pain and suffering of the people in this country, whether it's not having a job or whether forcing eviction or foreclosure. I'm not sure what's going on with Pelosi, but there is definitely a deal to be done, whether it's 1.5 or something else. But look, we need to get this done this week. Well, I think talking on shows like this and just raising the awareness so that the American public puts pressure on Capitol Hill. Nancy Pelosi appears to be the obstacle here. There's a lot of people in her party who want her to move off that dime. Unfortunately, and this is the sad truth, I think she's gambling that if the economy's bad, President Trump loses and she gains power. And that kind of calculus, if there's any truth to that at all, that has no place in this great country.
She's obviously pushed back on that notion as it has been floated out there.
She pushed back on all sorts of notions.
She has gotten pressure from members of her own party, to your point.
Yeah.
Peter Navarro, always good to have you. Thanks for being here this morning.
Great to talk, Senator.
All right.